Good morning. This is a really strange feeling. Good morning, Jocelyn. I feel like I'm in a desensitization tank because I know there are people out there, but I'm unable to see you and I am unable to hear you. So in order to move things along, I'm going to get started on time. So that way, if there are any questions, I can ensure that I have time at the end to address those. I'm here fiddling, setting a timer, because I'm always striving to stay the course and stay on track. So welcome to the viewers that are in the room with me today. I'd like to begin by respectfully acknowledging the traditional lands where I'm broadcasting in from this morning. I'm currently in Richmond Hill, Ontario. Throughout history, the Richmond Hill area has been home to different Indigenous groups, namely the Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe peoples. This territory is situated in lands covered by Treaty 13 and the Williams Treaty. And with the last name Williams, it was really strange for me when I did the research to see the family name that was ascribed to our peoples assigned to a treaty. So it prompted me to do a little bit more digging to learn a little bit more about where I'm currently situated. For thousands of years, Indigenous communities have had a strong presence and connection to the ocean and freshwater resources. For instance, where I'm currently located, the Oak Ridges Moraine currently forms the watershed divide between Lake Ontario and Lake Simcoe, and it is the headwaters to more than 30 rivers. According to Angeline Gillis, a proud Mi'kmaq woman and a member of the Eshkashoni First Nations and executive director of the Confederacy of the Mainland Mi'kmaq, this relationship is all-encompassing, and it is not limited to traditional boundaries. The Canadian Ocean Literacy Coalition, the organization for which I work with, where you will hear me refer to it as COLC from time to time, recognizes that Indigenous perspectives are situated in complex world systems and grounded in long-standing cultural worldviews and Indigenous peoples. Indigenous knowledge offers a holistic perspective, one that supports sustainability. These perspectives reflect Indigenous processes, principles, wisdom that are alive today. So it is with this thought in mind that my understanding of place, the organization for whom I mobilize this knowledge sharing session, that I welcome you to this space and we start our time together in a good, positive and affirming way. I just want to make sure I haven't skipped yet. So sorry for jumping around on the slides there. It's not cooperating. So here I am in this desensitization chamber called Hop-In. The settings are such that, again, I do recognize there are friends in the room with me because you're talking to me in the chat bar. So thank you very much for extending out your presence to me by engaging through the chat. The mics are muted. The cameras, I cannot see you, but the chat is available for us to engage with each other and to post general comments. You're also encouraged to use the question and answer bar, and I'll click on that over here. And I'm told that it should activate or say that it is, I will announce it, confirm and notify. So I'm announcing that the Q&A is open and it will show up in your notifications at the top. And for those who like to pace, to follow along on their own time, I will paste the slide deck in the chat bar for your reference. You have viewing privileges for that presentation. It is not content. It really is a pacing deck for me. It's a visual cue for me to think about all the things that I want to say in this very short period of time. So here we go. We're going to start our journey together. As I stated at the opening, where I acknowledged my place and the relevance of the work that I'm doing to the place where I'm situated, I work with Kolk, a fantastic team of talented individuals. We're small but mighty. And I'll pause for a minute to give you a moment to read the messaging on the screen. Excellent. And if you can give me, if I start before you finish processing, you can tell me to slow my roll with just a whoa in the chat bar. In those instances where I have text on the slide deck, because sometimes it's just, for me, it's more efficient for my friends that are in the room with me to read the content and then I elaborate after. So if ever that instance I haven't provided you with enough time, please just give me a cue in the chat bar and I'll slow it down. So as stated, excellent, thank you, Jocelyn. As stated, the Canadian Ocean Literacy was launched, or is an organization which I work for. We are remote, and I am blessed and I'm thankful that some of my team members are here to support me. There's nothing better than knowing that the people you work with who have different focus will have your back in these instances. The organization was launched at the Oceans Inspiration Expo as part of the G7 ministerial meeting in Halifax. That's a lot of policy conversation, but the important part of all of that activity is that there is a commitment to knowledge building, knowledge sharing, and knowledge mobilization. And being an Ontario certified teacher and a science and sustainability education specialist, this was a perfect role for me to enact my role in education and contributing to developing a more sustainable relationship with the earth. And in particular, in this case, it has to do with my growing and deep connection to the ocean. And as a caveat, when I speak of the ocean, I want to contextualize that I'm speaking of the one ocean, the global ocean, and all water, freshwater resources leading to and from it. So that is inclusive of our watersheds, it's inclusive of our rivers, because as we know, water flows. And it is that 70% of our planet that flows to sustain us. So this is my plan. And sometimes things never go according to plan, especially when you're passionate about a topic. We've made it through the gates for the welcome. I always strive to do connection before content. And if you haven't noticed, or you didn't notice it when you enter in, there are 2 polls. If you can take a moment to answer those polls, because I'd love to get a sense of, for the educators in the room, the audience that you typically work with, and where you're situated, because where you're situated is going to speak to your relationship with the ocean. So we're going to dip our toes, which really speaks to the why, because we always lead with the why, because if I can draw you in with the why, then the rest, which is a deeper exploration and then a call to fold in the ocean in your day-to-day practices, becomes that much more seamless or relevant. And then we turn the corner and we emerge, and we go into the area of the summary and the question period. So that moment of silence was to give you an opportunity to just grab those 2 essential questions. When I submitted the session proposal, I led with 2 questions, because it's always an important goal for me to have a milestone, knowing that I'm charting a journey with you together to address 2 questions. So in the back of your mind, as we move through this learning experience together, the 2 questions that you know that I've done have joined you in this space to do is if I answered, why should we learn about the ocean? And what does it mean to be ocean literate? I'd like you to see this launch session as a setting of the table per se for the other partners that are part of this program stream that will follow downstream to host talks as well. So this is a high level kind of framing that I hope encompasses what's left to come downstream with Oceanwise, Ocean School, and Students on Ice. And what's fantastic is Dr. Choi opened her opening statements when she shared her personal story. I jotted it down. Her motivation that she hoped for us to be inspired to work with our learners to appreciate nature and to connect with the environment. So it's from that, I've taken that baton and I'm pulling that baton through these two questions into our learning together today. So I'm going to take a look at the poll to see, I hope I can do this, to see how the results show. And so we have in the room, and I'm going to ask if you can be my eyes. Can you see the poll results when the screen is broadcasted, or is it not visible to you? So I'm going to show the poll results. Someone can share with me in the chat if they could see it. We could see them along the side, but not from your screen. Okay, excellent. But it is visible. All right, Jocelyn? Excellent. Thank you. And then Laura recently snorkeled over the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef. Wow, amazing, yet sad. And this is where I wish I could hear you, because when we reach to the end, to tap into the sad part of your statement. So in terms of where we are in Canada, landlocked, inland, landlocked, coastal Pacific, and then other. And then what grades do you teach? So friends in the room are elementary educators and high school, and then other. So wonderful. So it just gives me a sense of where you are, and a general idea of how deeply, if at all, I can go in this talk. I'm just grabbing a link here to share with you. Okay, and we go back to the chat, and there's the self-talk that starts. We're going to be accessing this form. So now that I have a sense of who you are, the grade levels, where you're situated in relation to the closest body of water, I'd like us to do a check-in with one question. So I've pasted a Google link in the chat. Please let me know if it's working for you, or I will know if it's working for you by clicking to see if anyone is there. And this is sharing on our screen. Oh, you need permission. Oh, leave it to Jay not to set that up. Okay, thank you so much. So I'm going in quickly to see if I can change the settings. And I thought it was already set to accepting responses. Thanks, Jocelyn. Okay. All right, we're gonna do this. This is analog and digital together because I am not seeing that setting component, but hopefully you could see the survey on my screen, and we'll do this using the chat bar. How does that sound? When in doubt, just pivot. Okay, it says it's available to those in the organization. So So what I'm asking for you to consider as we check in, so we've identified where we're located, and what I'm striving to do is establish connection before content. Like, what is our ocean connection? So what ecosystem, or people often don't think about their interactions with the ocean. And even though the ocean makes up approximately 70% of our surface, the benefits often go unnoticed. So when I position this question to you, it's not about how humans use the ocean. It is what nature by default doing their wonderful work in helping to sustain our life, how it benefits us. So in this list, ecosystem services are the many and varied benefits to humans that are provided by the natural environment. So which of these that are listed directly connect to you? And I'll read them out just to facilitate. Climate regulation, and then I'll watch the chat bar to see if there's any acknowledgements. Okay. Excellent. And if you could see the survey, but you just can't interact with it, you can pull your contributions into the chat bar, because we're a small enough group that we can do that together. Climate regulation for sure. Excellent. So I'm glad that energy. Jocelyn, you've got energy. Fish and seafood. Education. Recreation and tourism. All right, so we're seeing some overlap. Excellent. And Melissa, it contributes with inspiration and artistic value, fish and recreation, transportation. Excellent. So this is not something I have on a regular basis sat down and thought about to think about what should I be giving thanks to the ocean for providing, partly because I'm so far removed from the ocean in my comings and goings. But it also led me to wonder, do our students actually understand how the ocean connects to them and how they connect to the ocean? So I'll leave the survey active, and I would love, again, no pressure, if once I get this corrected, if you're able to capture the survey link and then pop in your thoughts in there, because I'd love to collect that information to see how people are relating to ocean spaces in their lives. So let's just move that form out of the way. And come on, technology, work for Janice, please. Be nice to me today. Thank you for going away. Excellent. So where are we now? We have done the connection, the check-in, and now we've been dipping our toes and testing the waters before we move forward. And then I have a thought for you. Please. I'll give you a minute to read. Increase the size of the font. I don't know if that's possible because it's on a full screen, but what I will do is I'll share again the slide deck. So if you're having a hard time seeing it, that you can look at the slide deck. I am sorry for this technical. I'm not sure why it's so small. Oops, I've shared the wrong thing with you. Copy. There's the form. It's still wanting to share. Okay. Oh, so sorry, Laura. Now I understand your comment, Laura. I thought your comment was about the slide deck. It's the form. I'm hoping that at the end of the event, if you can capture the link for the form, I'll go in the back end so I don't eat up our precious time together and revisit the setting, because I thought I had fixed it this morning. And so that I would love for you to have the time to I really do want to hear your response. So I'll make sure I go to the back end and troubleshoot that. And you'll also have my contact information by the time we finish our time together this morning. I apologize for that. So I recognize or acknowledge Melissa's comments about the statement made by Sylvia Earle. And I have been monitoring and following her work for some time, because she is a National Geographic explorer, and she's been a National Geographic explorer for a long time, working in ocean spaces. So I appreciate the wisdom that she shares. And when I saw that quote, it really struck me as I'm growing into my own with my connection with the ocean. But when we look at it from a Canadian context, according to the Council for Canadian Academies, the ocean is of key importance to Canada's environment, culture, public health, economy, and society. The study of ocean provides a basis for understanding and sustainability managing ocean resources, particularly in the context of our accelerated global change that we're experiencing. The ocean and freshwater resources matter far beyond Canada's borders because of the inextricable links among ocean regions, between the ocean, the seabed, the atmosphere, and between the ocean and different societies. Because of these linkages, the impacts of the global change are best understood from a global perspective. So I thought that statement was important to share, because when I mentioned to my friends that I was speaking about ocean literacy and ocean education at a global citizenship conference, they were perplexed, and it was, well, why? And then I thought, the ocean is a global commons. It is something we are all responsible for. It is something that we all share. And it's a perfect vehicle by which to engage learners across all disciplines, all grade levels, just because so much of it is unexplored, that we then have this opportunity to build a groundswell of interested learners who want to pursue and know more about this water world that we know very little about. So I thank Sylvia for her inspiration in that comment. So let's see if we can advance the slide, if it'll cooperate for me. So part of the big why is connected to the ocean decade as well. So in 2015, for the first time, the ocean was identified as a global resource in need of protection and conservation. In my knowledge history, it's the first time the ocean has been lifted up in a way that it is getting global attention across multiple sectors. And that the connection between the ocean, the connection to food security, the connection to economy, the connection to climate change, it's a wonderful on-ramp for climate change learning, and the connection to just global citizenship and how we relate to nature and how we relate to each other it's a perfect ecosystem to learn about and for the ocean. In January 2021, the United Nations proclaimed the Ocean of Decade Science for Sustainable Development. It's a period of 10 years from 2021 to 2030, and its aim is to support efforts to reverse the cycle of decline of ocean health and to mobilize actors globally behind a common framework that will ensure that ocean science, and when I say science, I think of knowledge and awareness in the context that I teach, and not just the physical chemical properties, but the knowledge and awareness that can fully support behavior change. that this ocean science, as they call it, will fully support countries in creating improved conditions for sustainable development of the ocean. There was a tagline on this wonderful scientific report written by the UN that stated the science we need for the ocean we want. And so there were areas that were highlighted within that report and the outcomes that we're looking for during this decade. So we are 8 years from the milestone, so we're 2 years in. We're looking to create the ocean we want is healthy and resilient. It is a productive ocean. It is a predicted ocean. And what that means is where society understands and can respond to the changing ocean conditions. It's a safe ocean. It's an accessible ocean. And it is inspiring, and the human element part that I think is important. It is inspiring and an engaging ocean. So I want to share a document with you. Although the work that we're talking about today is tied to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, we are lifting up actually 2 of those goals. We're lifting up 2 of those goals for the purpose of contextualizing why ocean literacy is important. I've shared with you in the chat a Google Drive folder, and I'm hoping that the settings took. I'm wondering if I forgot to hit apply each time. The setting is set to view, and you should be able to download the documents that are in that folder. The document of interest that I'd like you to look at is the document that is about the SDGs and targets, paying particular attention to SDG target 14.5. It might open up and seem really small, and the resolution takes a second to render, but it will become clear through an Adobe Acrobat reader, and it lists all 17 SDGs, but we're only honing in on SDG 14 for a minute, and I'd like you to take a second to read SDG 14.5, and I'll watch the chat to get a sense of that you've accomplished that task. Excellent. Great job. I love your facilitation, Jocelyn. You're hired. By target 14.5 by 2020, conserve at least 10% of the marine coastal areas. And you'll be happy to know or to learn that in 2022, it was announced June 8th that Canada, we've done a good job. We've surpassed its international target of 10% protection of the marine and coastal areas. And Canada has conserved to date approximately 842,000 square kilometers of Canada's marine and coastal areas. And this amounts to about 15%. So if our target goal is to preserve on an international scale, and each nation is working towards the target on their own, approximately 30% by 2030, and it is 2022 right now, and we're at 15, let's round it off. Let's be gracious, round it off to 15%. There's no thumbs up here. Are there emojis? I think there might be. With a yes, a Y, or an N in the chat. Do you think we will achieve that goal? 30% by 2030, if we are currently sitting at 15% in 2022. Okay, Melissa says yes. I like your positivity. Jocelyn says no. And this is where I wish I could get the mics on. I don't know if the moderator's in the room. Laura says no. And another Laura says no. Unfortunately, no. Okay. Hopefully. Tentative optimism. I appreciate that, Jen. Hopefully. And as I read that, yes, no, unfortunately, no, hopefully. My question to you now is, William says, I hope we can. Thinking. I hope we can. What can we as educators do to make that more possible than not? Do you think educators have a role to play? And I'll give you a minute to put your thoughts in the chat. What can we as educators do? Needs to be a priority. Okay. Girl goes to do that as educators, we can raise awareness. Absolutely. Absolutely. Great point. I'm just waiting. I'm taking a pause to see if some of our friends engage students who are both near and far. Oh, yes, Melissa, so important. That distance part is to close that gap. Laura C. states, encourage our students to take their awareness into action. Knowing is not enough. We must apply. Yes, yes, love that. Wonderful contributions. Thank you so much for engaging with me so I don't feel like a talking head. So we're tapping into the need for education, for knowledge building, for capacity building. We can get students to act by fundraising for causes. Absolutely, that leans towards the take action part. So we move into we've done the why, so we understand the moral imperative. And what we're tapping into in the comments right now in the chat is the importance of education, but not just any education, but the idea of global citizenship education. Laura C., I'm appreciating your comment. And we're going to look at the what. Let's look at the what. So why am I here? What is Jay wanting to share with you? The what really is situated in celebrating the global ocean. Celebrating it is something we've been doing since about the launch, or since about June, intentionally since June, with the annual National Ocean Week celebration. So what the aim is over the next couple of years, 8 years, we've got a decade, 2 years in, it's to really mobilize as a nation, mobilize as international community to build awareness about the health of the ocean for the protection and conservation. The Ocean Week Canada, which recently took place from June 3rd to the 12th, it's a national celebration that overlaps World Ocean Day, which is June 8th. So if you missed it this year, we're going to circle back and look for you celebrating with us all things ocean and freshwater related. But we're not just celebrating a week in a year. After Ocean Week Canada kicked off, it's actually building up momentum towards an event where Canada showcases its leadership. And this is where, as a steward of our natural resources, it makes me proud to say that we are a leader in this space, and we're gearing up to host the 5th International Marine Protected Conference. They call it Impact 5. And Impact 5 is a global forum that brings together ocean conservation professionals and officials to inform, inspire, and act on marine protected areas. Because it is through understanding, it's through knowledge building, it's through awareness building and participating in and celebrating marine conservation efforts. We are hopefully, we're gonna hold on hope, hopefully going to strive towards protecting 30% of ocean water resources by 2030. Can I do that? Would you like to allow people to share their screens? Carissa, I would love for people to be able to, yes, please. It's such an intimate group. I would love to be able to see and actually talk to them. Is that possible? Okay. Friends, if you can pause for a minute while I just troubleshoot here with Carissa on how to make you more real to me. So I know it has to do with the moderation button. Is that correct? Because I'm not seeing many choices for functionality. Hold on a second. Oh, I'm not seeing anything at my end. And I don't want to accidentally disconnect, but I'm not seeing where I can actually change the setting. I was exploring that when I first came into the room with and found Melissa here. But for the interest of time, I'm just gonna move forward so that way I don't run out.
If you hover over your screen that you're
Okay.
sharing, you should be able to see 3 dots on the hop.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the only thing that pops up is full screen. That's the only option that comes from my lips. Is full screen. I don't have any other.
If you're on like the Hopin website, you can go to settings. There should be like a button at the bottom.
And when I open that, it only shows my video. I apologize, friends, for this delay. It only shows my video and my camera and pre-run event check. And there's no other options. I have no other options on my screen.
Okay. Let me just double check with Tanya and then I'll come back.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay. All right. I'm pivoting back to my friends in the room. Thank you for your patience. I am sorry about that. This is, we're still working to troubleshoot technical challenges. So in speaking about, I'm going to pause. See, I got all excited. I'm going to pause to give you a moment to read the screen. Okay, folks, how are we with those 5 bubbles of thoughts? I'm taking Laura's cue and marching forward. Thank you, Laura. Good. So what you're seeing on the screen are the 5 broad project messages that emerged from our Ocean Week Canada celebrations. I'm going to share a link with you that will take you to the full elaborations for when you do have time to have a look at those, because I think it frames nicely a lot of the connection to nature, the appreciation for the environment that we would like to see embedded in practice when we have an opportunity to take the learning to the outdoors, take the learning to a water space. So I've shared a link to an Ocean Week Canada website. And this document is found in the communication section of the website. And what I'm presenting on the screen is the high-level overview of the aims or what we would hope to achieve through engaging with our students, engaging with our communities about ocean knowledge and ocean connection. But there are subsets to each of those high-level descriptions that are worth reading. The reason why I think it's important and connected to global citizenship education is when I read them, I get goosebumps because I think about what is the purpose of education? And I think about the work that's been ongoing with UNESCO for the past couple of years. To know, to do, to be, and to be in the world. And so when I read the project messages, for me, what's embedded in the project messages are what we aspire to do in education day to day, but through our own subject matter content. Anyone in the session can request. Okay, so okay, it's funny how it's like a fruit fly, my attention just shifted. Again, we're pausing. The button should appear on the screen at the bottom of the screen. I have no buttons on the screen, so I'm not sure what to say there. And anyone in the session can request to appear on screen. So if anyone in the room with me could help me troubleshoot this and make a request, I'll see if anything comes up on my screen. Okay, Kirsty, you know what? For the interest of time, whatever's I'm supposed to see, I'm not seeing, and I'm eating into time with the folks in the room that I don't think we're going to get to the end of our journey together, just because we're trying to troubleshoot while we're trying to change the engine while the plane's moving. So I'm wondering if we could just table it, and I'll do the best with the situation that we're faced with. But I can assure you that there are no buttons on my screen. I see nothing like what I saw during the test run a couple of weeks ago. So onward, forward. So thank you, though, for your attempt. Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Laura. We'll do that. All right, so you heard my big pitch as to how these project messages as an educator resonated with me about the purposes of education. And notice that I use the plural in terms of the purposes, because each learner is going to tap into their own connection in terms of the purpose. So being able to say to know, to do, to be, and how to move through this world, we're able to localize that through the ocean, and then it ripples out to have a global impact. So embedding or folding the ocean into our teaching practice is actioning for a healthier relationship with the ocean, for the protection of the ocean, that benefits not just the local community that in which we're mobilizing that work, but recognizing it has a global impact. So that notion of glocal, from local to global, okay? And so as you watch this video, I love Jay Manjak's narrative in this video. When I heard it, I said, he's speaking of what we're striving for in education, to know, to be, to do. So fingers crossed. So far, technology and I have been having this tug of war. Let's hope that this launches for us. This is about a 3-minute video, but I think it's totally worth it when we think about, consider the purposes, the project messages that were shared in the previous slide, and how I lifted up the notion of within those project messages, we are speaking to the purposes of education, to know, to be, and to do. And let's hear Jack's message.
My people are fish people. It's the very soul of what we are. Like the Taku we depend on the salmon. Everyone gets salmon every year. I never want there to be no fish. It's something I couldn't live with. All about the fish, man. All about the fish. It's Kayani, Jerry, Jack, Fisheries Tech, Land Guardian. We're Taku This is our daily desk, my work table. I do all my tacking every day.
What we're trying to do is collect length, sex, and age information from the scales that are taken.
We've also started this new camera work.
And they swim through the box. There's a little camera. It's It's motion activated.
We come down and download the data for that and review that later on in the day. Pretty cool. This helps us get a number so we know that there's going to be enough spawning salmon.
He's watching for bears. Well, we all are, actually. We do get a lot of grizzly bears in here.
We have a respect between the bears and us. We're ones here to survive and get something done. The bears here to eat, we're here to get data.
The land guardians are our eyes and ears on the ground. We need to be on top of what's happening in our traditional territory.
I'm very concerned personally on what's happening to the salmon.
Used to get 1,000, 1,300 in the season. Last year was 74 total samples, 74.
We need them to be on the ground and telling us what they're seeing, the changes that are happening. We won't know those things unless we're out there.
I'm bailed on that jump, right?
It's 40,000 square kilometers that we have to cover. So there's not enough guardians to do the work. There's so much additional information to be gathered out there. How are we going to take care of our land? How are we going to keep it thriving?
I grew up knowing that I was attacking River Clinket, and until I actually went and saw where we got our salmon from, I never knew what that meant to be. And it changed me as a person. This is exactly what I was meant to do. I love this job, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. It's the perfect place to be.
Thank you for watching that with me. That particular video can be found in the video collection that is curated to a wonderful website that we created, we being Coke, created to support this call to action that we're bringing into this global education space. So I don't know if you were primed to hear when J Man said to be and do and know. And then at the end when he said, I love this, I wouldn't want to do anything else. In my class, if that's what my students leave with, feeling about learning that was situated with the ocean as a vehicle for the learning, then I would feel that I did my job, because I touched a part of them that hopefully will manifest in a particular behavior towards ocean protection, ocean conservation. So I share that link with you so you have it on the ready. There are so many wonderful stories told by the people who are and who have been for thousands of years protecting and conserving the global ocean. And to the comment of Charmaine that there's a shortage, our students can also be guardians in support of the work that Indigenous nations have been doing for thousands of years. We can equip our students to then have the knowledge, to then want to work, to also be a water guardian, to support the Indigenous communities in their regions working for freshwater, ocean water conservation. So because we are short on time, I'm going to bypass a couple of slides, but I invite you to get the link that I'm going to share in the chat bar and take a moment to answer the questions. That it's a little exploration of the website that we have worked with over 24 partners from January to May, and it launched in June, because it wasn't enough for us to say that we have a moral imperative to bring ocean education into the formal education sector. We created the tools that would be needed to support teachers wanting to integrate ocean education into their topics, into their teaching areas. So because of our limited time, we are not going to do the seek and find, which are quick things that we were going to send you. I was going to send you into the website. So you get a feel, because I only have you for an hour today to get you into the website, to get a feel for what's there, so that you knew there was something for when you were ready. And then later on in that activity, there is a set of questions that are heavier lift, that they ask you to think deeply a little bit about what you could do with this material, how you could use this material. So here is the link that I'm going to share with you. It's a Jamboard. So challenge by choice, at your leisure, because time is never on our side as educators. At your leisure, I invite you to complete it when you have time. It takes no more than 15 minutes at the most. You can even set a timer and say, you know what, I'm going to give Jay 15 minutes of my time, and I'm going to do her little Jamboard exploration of the OWC website to see what's in there and see if there's some way that I can fold the ocean into my practice. So you've got that Jamboard. So you're going to see me skip a couple of slides. This was the backgrounder about what you were going to do when you get into the space. You could still follow those instructions when you do get there. And if you've launched the Jamboard, you will see that information there as well. So I'm going to skip past this slide very quickly. And so we dipped our toes. We did a bit of exploring about the what. I have not had the time, or did not have the time, to go through that guided exploration with you through that Jamboard activity, but hopefully you'll find 15 minutes to do that. And then we go to it's like, yeah, that's great, Jay. You want us to think about how can we bring ocean education into our practice. And so here I approach the task with speaking to you about the how. So this is a saying that I tend to articulate when I'm holding the tension, when I hear, you know, the ministry or the board saying, oh, you need to do this in your classroom, you need to do this. And then I think about, where am I going to find the time to do that? And then as I sat and started really critically analyzing the different frameworks that they were bringing and saying, you know, wouldn't it be great to be adopting this, or wouldn't it be great to seeing how this fits in? I realized that if doing more in education is not a realistic choice, then the other option is we must do things differently. And it's not to try to throw one thing out to bring something else in, but look for the synergy between what we're already doing and what is the new thing that's coming up that seems new, but it's just that it is already there, but we just didn't know its name. And this is what I think global citizenship education provides us with the opportunity to do as educators, to see things differently and start looking at the system connections between the things that we're feeling or being asked to do to address some of the global changes that are happening, to equip our learners for what is to come. But it's to really sit down and say, okay, am I already doing this, but I don't know I'm doing it? So you start learning a new lexicon. And then it's a beautiful dance when you do it. And it's to name it is the powerful part. So here's my big pitch. If we're educators and our goal is to provide quality education for all, and I'm elevating SDG 4, which speaks to quality education for all, and specifically target 4.7, which reads, and I will paste it in the chat for those who want to capture that after I summarize it. By 2030, so here's that 2030 milestone again. I want to talk about goal setting. By 2030, ensure that all learners acquire the knowledge, skill, and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including, among others, through education for sustainable development, sustainable lifestyle, human rights, gender equality, promotion of culture and peace and nonviolence, and appreciation of cultural diversity and the culture's contribution to sustainable development. There's my 10-minute warning. As I go about this work, I find myself wondering if all global citizenship education is ultimately about, and listen carefully because you're going to hear Emily's voice here for a minute. Is it ultimately about the connection and relationship with nature, ourselves, and each other? And so I propose to you that I think it's possible that all subjects and all teaching and all learning at all grade levels can be designed to lift up the linkages between global citizenship education, which is the global perspective, which is us as an entire world relating to and with each other. And then the ESD, the Education for Sustainable Development, enters through local actions, where we are honoring the TRC calls for action through education, education for reconciliation, climate change education, and ocean education. And I'd like to highlight, this is not a Venn diagram. I was trying to represent, they're connected. They're not separate, they're connected. And it's like we have to tease apart the interlinkages between them, not just for our students, but for ourselves, so we recognize that some of this content, there's already space being held in our teaching practice, in our curriculum content areas, in the skills that we're striving to develop in our learners to enable this mindset of global citizenship that Paul spoke about at the outset. So we at Koch, we're here to help. We're like, let's get her done. How do we support teachers that are already doing this? How do we name that this work is already happening? And how do we bring like-minded individuals into the space to support the work that we're doing and to lift up the work locally and then connect globally to a larger ecosystem that is doing the same work? So I'm here to say, let's work together and join us. And this is where, again, I don't know if tech is going to work for us. I'm highlighting an image of our All Atlantic Blue Schools Network Governance Board member, Diz Glitherow, and she's the national coordinator of the Canadian Ocean Literacy Coalition. And it's a 1-minute video. It's the pitch as to why you need to lean into this opportunity and join us as we strive to build out a Blue Schools Canada network with your involvement and your students' actions at a local level that will have transformative impact on a national scale. So if you can join me with fingers crossed, it's gonna launch our website, and I'm hoping that I can broadcast the video from there. So let's see what happens, friends, because I'm not very confident. And it went to another window. So, oh, there we go. Maybe I'm gonna be lucky because it knows I'm running out of time.
Bonjour tout le monde. My name is Diz Glitherow. I'm the national lead of the Canadian Ocean Literacy Coalition. I also have the pleasure of serving as the national coordinator of the Emerging Blue Schools Network Canada. And as an educator and education researcher, I'm delighted to help support and grow the All Atlantic Blue Schools Network. Education is essential to ensuring that current and future generations better understand, value, and care for the ocean and all waterways leading to it. And it's not just education of any kind. Education that's hands-on, experiential, place-based, culturally relevant, and community action-oriented to ensure that young people develop the knowledge, the skills, the passion, and that sense of agency to participate fully in society and help drive the changes and the solutions that we need. And it's not just education in terms of students learning, also teacher education. We need to cultivate strong teachers to help drive these kind of changes. So let's work together. Let's help grow the All Atlantic Blue Schools Network together by sharing experiences, effective practices, and successes. We can achieve great things.
I am so happy that it worked. This is wonderful. It means the end is near. So in response to Diz's comment, I want to highlight the Blue Schools Canada network that we're striving to build from the ground up with the help of your help. You're communicating to your network of teachers that there's this possibility to build this network to fold in the ocean in our teaching. All grades have an opportunity to explore ocean-related issue, and remember that also speaks to our watersheds. Encourage student action, and in the end, build an ecosystem of collaborators that involves not just our local learning community, but an actual international learning community. And the possibilities are limitless. What we can do together, we want to build this together with you. So in good time, look at that. She made it to the finish line without the system crashing. I open the floor to questions, and I am sharing with you a Padlet that I invite you to capture, and then a couple days from now to just think about the things that you heard, what you may have seen when you go to the Ocean Week Canada website to explore, and just share your thoughts with me. I would love to hear what you're thinking, because again, our time together was way too short. So I'm going to have a look at the Q&A, and it is empty, but it doesn't mean there aren't any questions. It just means it takes time for the questions to emerge. So that's how I look at that. But what I will do in this time is encourage you to spend some time in the program stream Water Everywhere, and to visit some of the downstream presentations that are upcoming. Ocean School is up next. They're going to talk about ocean literacy for all. So where I gave you this high level moral imperative to address two essential questions, and the questions were, let's go back to our notes here. Why should we teach about the ocean, and why is ocean literacy important? Hopefully I've given you enough meat to cover the bones of those two essential questions that encourages you to dive deeper with Ocean School, which comes up in the next session, or join Ocean Bridge as they speak about their youth leadership program. There's the actioning part, or even better yet, explore ocean careers with students on ice and see what they are doing in ocean spaces. And this time it's the frozen stuff, the cryosphere, which is amazing. And without further ado, I invite you to please, please, please reach out, contact me. My email is j.williams@coalition.ca. We're on Twitter. And if there's anything that you do this week, if you can spare 15 minutes to do that Jamboard and explore the website, I'd be happy to guide you through the process of folding some ocean into your learning and building ocean awareness, ocean knowledge, and ocean connection within your learning communities. Thank you so much for your patience. While I can't see you, I hope you know I extend great gratitude for your patience during this troubleshooting of the Hop-In platform. Thank you so much for your time.